Today's show and the following message are brought to you by a former guest. Alt36 is a cannabis payment solution that's powered by Dash Cryptocurrency. To learn how you can take part in their expansion, go to alt36.com or listen to MJBulls episode 12.
If there's an infestation or a breakout of a mold or something like that, it happens because of a variation within the canopy. So with our technology, they can zero in and find out where those anomalies are.
From Bumming It Media, it's the MJBulls podcast, a show about raising cannabis capital. I'm Dan Humiston, and on today's show, how Urban-Gro has evolved from a cannabis distribution company to the industry's premier cultivation system integrator. Today, we're joined by Bob Pullar, the Chief Financial Officer of Urban-Gro, which is a systems integrator and agricultural technology company. Bob, thanks for being on the MJBulls podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, you're going to need to bear with me today because just by watching what Urban-Gro is doing and how much you provide to cultivation facilities, we need to take this thing a little bit slow. Otherwise, you're going to overwhelm everybody. So let's start off with explaining what a systems integrator does.
Okay. I like to consider ourselves as the IBM of cannabis. What that really means is we take disparate technology and systems, and through our expertise in design and engineering, we stitch those things together. What we do in a nutshell is we help large cultivators scale.
I'm assuming that you have a design team to help these people scale up their organizations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that's really where we start. We'll get a blueprint of the building and the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing layout, and we'll take that and start to design the flow of water from the walls all the way to each individual plant. So if you think about it, for like a 100,000 square foot grow, we design the flow of water, nutrients, and fertilizer to a bench, which there can be hundreds of benches. If you can imagine what a blueprint would look like, moving water from a massive tank, mixing that with fertilizer and nutrient in the proper dosage, and we're talking about parts per million basis, and then taking that directly to each individual plant. So it's very complicated, requires great detail and analysis, and we really need strong engineers to help calculate, the flow of water and those nutrients.
I'm on your website right now, and which, by the way, it's a very nice website, but you're a one-stop shop. I mean, you have everything from irrigation and benches and sensors and lighting.
And the lighting, we have a HPS 1,000-watt fixture that is our own light. Tavo Gutierrez, who's one of the co-founders, designed that light. We have a sense and control technology that we've been building over the past year and a half, and that light incorporates that technology internally. So what it basically allows a grower to do is dim the light individually and wirelessly to better meet the characteristics of whatever type of strain of cannabis or any high-value crop that someone is trying to grow.
I mean, I'm reading about your software and your technology and how you, not just the lighting, but you integrate all aspects of the grow.
We've invested in these sensors, and the sensors are really cool. So we're capable of putting 2,000 sensors within a 400 square foot area. You can't do that with Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or any of the other technologies. What those sensors do, they measure 3 environmental variables: temperature, humidity, and air pressure. And so we put those above and within the canopy. You've seen a grow, so you know how dense that canopy gets. But what the sensors do is it gives us an internal readings on environmental characteristics that are going on within that canopy. So if there's an infestation or a breakout of a mold or something like that, it happens because of a variation within the canopy. So with our technology, they can zero in and find out where those anomalies are, and through, maybe just adjusting a fan or fixing a light, they can actually, manage it a little bit better.
Just a quick shout out to one of our former guests, Turning Leaf Capital, a cannabis investment firm that provides both small and large investors the opportunity to take part in the cannabis bull market with their unique asset-specific investment vehicle. Listen to MJBulls episode 10 or go to turningleafcapital.com to learn more. And now back to the show. I'm just thinking with all this lighting information that you're collecting and now all this sensor information that you're collecting, you have a lot of really valuable data for cultivation, not just in cannabis, but for all cultivators.
Yeah, and we also have on the docket for end of first quarter a substrate sensor that you stick in the soil or the cocoa, and we were able to read another 6 additional variables as it relates to the soil. So it's big data play, right? So we're pulling together the characteristics of the environment, of what's happening in the soil. With our investment in this controls technology, we can trace back to, when was it watered? When was it fed? What fertilizers were used? And from a big data perspective, you can really take that information and start to see, man, when we played with this variable, or, let's say we decided to use a little less nutrient, a little more fertilizer here, and it resulted in a much better yield or a higher concentration of THC or whatever. It's basically we're recording all of that stuff, and we can go back, find out what we did, and repeat it.
Wow.
Because of the data, it allows a grower to be, more scientific in how they approach this. And the cool thing, Dan, is that this isn't just limited to cannabis. I think we're very lucky to be able to play in the space where there's a lot of desire for technological innovation, but there's also enough margin for these guys to go ahead and start to experiment with these things. Ultimately, our goal is we get this technology to scale and we take it over to, you've heard of like vertical grows in major cities or other types of indoor farming that happen in urban areas. So there's a huge play here, and cannabis just gives us the opportunity to perfect the technology. Then this isn't pie in the sky. These are some real research around the idea of this urban farming feeding a fast-growing population around the world.
Yeah, and you're not doing it with government subsidies or anything. This is just because the right?
Exactly.
Right? You're actually,
and they can't do it in ag because the margins are so low.
It's actually the opposite of government subsidies. It's the reverse, and it's working. Oh my gosh. Well, that's good. Well, speaking of funding, how are you paying for all this expansion? Are you raising capital?
We had a raise in October. We went out for 2.5. We were oversubscribed. I think we came in around 2.7. But that raise was part of direct public offering, which is a little different than an IPO. So sold the shares in October. Those shares become the float for our offering, which hopefully will happen in the next month or two. As we go public here and as we start to realize the strong demand for things like our proprietary light, our controls, the sensing control technology, we are currently in discussions with about 3 separate funds to raise $5 million.
So the UrbanGro website address is urban-gro.com. Bob, can you tell our listeners how they can find information about your technology company?
It's called soletech.ag, and it really gets into our proprietary technology.
I'm going to have all this information on the MJBulls website. Bob, this has been great. I am really impressed. I shouldn't say impressed because I knew about your company. I really wasn't aware of how deeply involved with the process you were. And I'm very impressed. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Absolutely, yeah. And everyone thinks of Urban-Gro as a distributor, and that's old news. We think we're meeting a very strong unmet need in the market, and I think the sky's the limit for our company.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Thanks again, Bob. Just a quick thank you to one of our sponsors. Bridgewest LLC is one of the first accounting firms in the world to focus solely on the cannabis industry and is your one-stop provider for accounting, audit, tax, and advisory service. They're offering a free 30-minute intro call to one of their leadership teams to all MJBulls listeners. Go to bridgewestcpas.com. Thanks for listening to the MJBulls podcast. To learn more about today's guest or to become a guest, visit our website at mjbulls.com. Today's show was produced by Bumminit Media with original music composed by Jamie Humiston. I'm Dan Humiston, and you've been listening to the MJBulls podcast.